Okay, we have this 45 RFE, the earlier model. Most everything is pretty much the same, and debated on whether doing this video or not, but I guess there's enough things that are a little bit different that I'll go ahead and I'll do the video. You got 7 check balls, like you have up to, like I think it's 2010. The solenoid switch valve is bad about wearing out. I've gotten to where I'm reaming every one of them. I'm not even bothering with them anymore. I'm just go ahead and reaming them. There's 2 different sizes. There's a 420,000 spool. You can be measuring right here. And there's a 453,000 spool. So make sure which valve you have. 2 different ream kits for it, of course. And of course I ordered the wrong valve because I didn't measure it before. I just guessed at what I probably was going to need, and I was wrong. So I'm waiting on that to show up. Like I said, you got 7 check balls here. I would recommend that you either put the valve body gaskets on here that come in some of the better kits, or buy the bonded separator plate. The springs that are in here are just slightly different. On the later ones, the inner spring is kind of difficult to get out of the outer spring. On the earlier ones, it's not that way. So just be aware the springs are slightly different. The inner ones will just fall out of here now. There are 2 sealing rings on every accumulator. Make sure your bores are not worn out. 2 springs on every one of them except for this one down here. Make sure that this plug and shuttle valve, low reverse shuttle valve, does not fall out of this thing while you're cleaning it out, because it will just fall out. This one has the black solenoids on it. It's probably not a bad idea to go ahead and update it to the white one. They're wanting to keep the cost down on this one. This solenoid assembly was working fine. They do make a rebuild kit for it if you want to buy it. I don't find that it's necessary to do that. If you're going to do that, just go ahead and upgrade it to the white solenoid. Now when you put the white solenoid on it, the plate's going to change. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. This on here so this doesn't fall all over the place. This little pocket right here is going to measure different for the white solenoid. So you should, when you order the white solenoid assembly, you should get this plate with it. If you don't, you might want to send it back and get you, well, you might want to, you need to send it back and get the one that comes with the plate. On the black solenoid connector, the little gasket here is different. The ports are different. You notice the biggest difference is right here. This one is held on by T20 Torx bolts. This one is not, just pops on. This is what you're going to get in most of your kits. You're not going to get this gasket. You got your seals here, 3 of them. Make sure that these orifices are in there, if it has them. What else we need to talk about till my parts get here? The pump plate, this spring right here is always really bad about breaking. This wasn't even in there. The valve and everything is missing. So I got a valve and a spring and a retainer coming for this. The first design will have these 3 holes. It has what they call a hatchet hole, and then these other 2 holes right here. If it has all 3 of these holes, this is the setup that you have for that. You have no orifice here. You have a 77 thousandths orifice hole drilled in right there, and that matches this plate. I guess that's pretty much it until I get the rest of my parts here, and then we'll start going through the rebuild on this. Okay, if you're going to make a mistake, this drum is where you're going to make it. So need to pay special attention to what's going on in here. You do not need to take this input shaft out. The sealing rings are scarf cut, they go together just like so. I just took it out to show you. My advice is just leave it in there, and you can get these sealing rings on there just fine without taking this thing out. There's no need to take it out unless you need to change the bushings. You can put grease on here if need be to hold these sealing rings in place. This lip seal goes with the lip down. Come on, quit fighting me. Okay, the green O-ring goes on the bottom. The red O-ring goes in the second groove from the top. My advice to you is do not pull this bevel plate out of here. It is a super pain in the ass to get back in there. I have only ever seen one of them broke. That's the only reason. Take it out. There's nothing in there. Make sure that orifice is free. O-ring goes on here. I have another O-ring. It's actually lip seal. The lip goes down. Oh, my brain ain't working good today. Okay, I'm going to explain all this because I want to go over there and do this all at one time. Go ahead and lube this up. Go ahead and lube up your other drum. Put it in, line up some fingers with the other fingers right there. Alright, when we get this down, normally we're looking at the short end of the taper on our snap ring. That does not matter on this one. There is a flat side and there's a beveled side. So regardless of what this is out here, the bevel side goes up. And we have piston. Make sure the orifice is free. have the spring cage. I have been running into these breaking right here, and it's coming up. It happens more on 68 RFEs than it does the others, but I have seen it on these. This spring cage goes on top. This piston going to go inside of there. Alright, on our snap ring, short end of the taper up towards us. We want the opening of the fingers and the opening right here. It doesn't say anything about this in the book, but I have found that if you line up the feed port, it seems to go together a lot easier. You need a pair of snap ring pliers. I told you my brain ain't working today. I don't need to put this in a foot press yet. Here we go. Make sure that it is all the way up in that groove. If you put that upside down, that snap ring is going to pop out of there. Put this in with whatever lip seal tool you can get to work the best. I found that these lip wizards seem to work better on this than a lot of other stuff. This here is my go-to for lip seals. It's a snap-on drawer lock removal tool. Okay. These new pistons can be a little bit cantankerous to get in there. There we go. All right. Alright, I'll put the hubs in later because I'm missing one, I'm waiting on one. We can go ahead and stack the drum though. Just remember that when you do yours, to get the clutch hub, reverse clutch hub in, you're going to need that the rest of this already be together. Okay, on every level of the clutch hubs, you're going to have a bearing. It's going to go on the back just like so. Starting on the underdrives, we want, let's see if we're close enough. The steels are 68 thousandths. The clutches are 79 thousandths. When you get to your last clutch, you're going to want flat snap ring. That is 68 thousandths. Goes in the bottom groove. Our pressure plate goes with this step down, the dots up, and you're going to want a tapered snap ring, 96 thousandths. Okay, get that up in there. See if we came out fairly close. That looks good. The overdrive clutches 91 thousandths and the steels are 83 thousandths. And we want this wavy snap ring. I don't know if the wave is showing up. It goes on the outside, sits down in the bottom. You don't want the opening at an opening, just make sure it's away from there. We have our pressure plate, the line faces up. You have flat snap ring. And we are too thick. Okay, I don't know what was up. It happens all the time. You take something off the camera and it goes back together just the way it's supposed to be. The clearance came out fine this time. I didn't change anything. All I did is take it apart and put it back together. So I don't know what was hanging it up, but it was hung up. So in order to put your reverse clutches in, you need your clutch hub to be in. Otherwise you're not going to get your clutch hub in. But we can go ahead and stack this up. Since I don't have my clutch hub, clutches are 78, steel is 70. Pressure plate goes with the step up, flat side down. bolts all the way down. Get your snap ring in. And then, actually wrong snap ring for my information. Alright, once you get that in there, you're going to pry your pressure plate back up against your snap ring before you check your clearance. Otherwise it's going to be applied. On the front side of the drum there is another bearing just like the others. It goes in just like this. Let's see, I guess we can put the planets together. Let me get that stuff over here and we'll do that. Okay, so we got the bearing in the back of our hub, and it should go without saying, but if you have to change your hubs, make sure that they look just like the old ones, because 68 RFEs are different. The bearing goes in the back of this hub. Got the bearing in the back of our reverse hub, bearing on the front. Yeah, we got our clutches, 78 thousandths, our steel 68 thousandths. Our pressure plate goes with the step up. Our snap ring is 76 thousandths. When you get your snap ring in there, you're going to pry your pressure plate back up against the snap ring. Alright, fast running out of things that we can do. We got a bearing, looks like that. Those little lips face up. Got a ring gear. There's our planetary assembly. Alright, come on. Trying to get this where do it on camera. I don't normally do it like this. This bearing goes lip down. Got our sun gear. We got this bearing. Goes on the back of this planet. Flat snap ring. I got this bearing, it's going to sit on the top. This planet's going to go inside of it. This bearing's going to go on top. Sun gear. Bearing on top. Our ring gear. Down inside of here, this will only line up one way. This metal washer is metal on this. They changed it later years to a plastic one. It's very, very easy to break, so be careful with it. It'll only line up one way, like I said. And we have another one of these bearings. Fingers go up. Okay, on your low reverse drum here, we have an orifice in here. We'll make sure that that is not plugged with debris and that it is in there. Go ahead and lube up your drum. The earlier ones did not have molded pistons. They had D-rings on here. Okay, on your bevel plate, you want to dish up your half moon clips. You want to have in a situation like this where your openings are in the opening. You don't want them sitting on the top of the finger like so. It has a tendency to snap the bevel plate or the clip, so put it in just like so. Once that's in, we have a snap ring, short end of the taper facing up towards you. It's going to go on the groove down there. Wrong snap ring. Alright, just like so. Going to start with the steel and alternator clutches and steels all the way up to the pressure plate. No, I do not soak my clutches. If you want to soak your clutches, soak them. I get that comment more than any other. It does not make that big of a difference. Pressure plate with the bevel up, flat side down. Snap ring. And we want our sprag. You just want to make sure it turns. Do not try to take this thing apart. Interrace is going to turn counterclockwise, lock clockwise. If this thing is bad, just replace the whole thing. Once you get this down, there's another snap ring on top. I got to get this phone call. Okay, the 2C and the 4C got D-shaped rings again. Make sure it's not rolled. Yeah, come on now. On this one, the D-ring goes on the inside of the drum. Yeah, I'm getting a groove. There we go. And this one here goes on here. Okay, what I used to use to put this spring cage in was a C6 direct drum bushing that was split, and I spread it out to get on the edges out here. I've since found something that works much better, short end of the taper up. This piston off of a 722.6 fits just perfect on there, and it makes it a hell of a lot easier. That C6 bushing does work. I did that for a long time. But you do have to be careful. It will pop off of there, and it will hurt your fingers when it does. Alright, bevel plate, dish up. Snap ring, it really doesn't matter about the taper, but I always put it up. And just use a screwdriver and a hammer, pop it into place. Just make sure it's all the way up in that groove. Okay, on here, just going to alternate steels and clutches. Use you a good quality clutch like Raybestos, and you're not going to have to worry about your clearances. There are no adjustments for clearances on this unit, so if it's coming out wrong, you got the wrong combinations and wrong thicknesses of clutches. So use good quality stuff, otherwise you're going to have trouble. If you use the good stuff, you're not, the clearance always come. I have never had one that didn't come out right. Okay, if you're going to put the Sonex valve in, the valve goes in first, this side out. Then you put in the plug assembly, black side in. Then you're going to get a new end plug, and it's going to have an O-ring on it. Lube that up really well. Helps to mash it down. Might even roll it on the table. There's a step side to it. The little tip faces in. Go in just enough to get the retainer in place. Goes in just like this. Or I'm sorry, it goes in just like that. Alright, I don't have valve body gaskets for this one. They did not come in this kit, and I don't happen to have any, so it's not going to get them. There's a whole crap load of these bolts. Somewhere around like 55 bolts, something like that. Hold all this in. And I would do it several times. Start in the center, work your way out. Let it sit for about 15 minutes. Come back and retighten it, especially on the solenoid assembly, because it's going to crush that silicone and the plastic, and it's going to compress it. And after it sits for a little bit, it may loosen up a little bit. So tighten it down at least one more time, maybe two, depending on how it feels when you get to the second tightening. Feels okay, you might be good with that. You might do it 3 times. Just make damn sure that it is tightened down and is not loosening back up, because they will do it. Okay, 40 inch-pounds on the transfer plate to valve body, 50 inch-pounds on the solenoid body. The solenoid body, this little tip has to sit in this little slot right here. Alright, tighten those down. On our pump, we've already pressed the front seal in. Still waiting on that valve assembly. Press my new front seal in. The pump gears, I would mark the ones that came out of which spot, put them back in the same spot. This little flapper valve here. This little flapper valve, Transgo recommends that you leave this out. There is tech out there that says leaving it out can cause unstable line pressure at an idle. So you do whatever you want to do. There is a rounded side to it. You can just barely tell. That faces down. And it sits right there. Then our separator plate, of course, goes on top of that. The small bolts that go on the front, the 25 Torx, those are 40 inch-pounds. The 30 Torx that come in from the back that hold the stator on, I recommend that you put this in. Some of the kits are coming with them. It goes on the back of this stator here. Make sure that all the holes are lined up. It comes in the back side. You have the 30 Torx that hold those in. Those are 105 inch-pounds. And then the sealing rings that go on there, they are hook and loop. They just hook in just like so. So once I get the pump assembled and my other stuff shows up, I'm still missing the filter also. They sent a 4x4, this is a 2-wheel drive. Once I get all that stuff, we can stuff this in the case. Okay, don't remember where we were at. We got our gears in, marked. Flapper valve, rounded side down, flat side up. The early ones had these bolt holes, and if you do not put these bolts back in, it will not move. So 25 Torx here, 40 inch-pounds again. Need to, there's several different kits that you can do for here. The springs, like I said, are bad about breaking. This one was totally missing the valve. I don't know what happened, but so this is the Sonex kit. See if we can get this thing down in there. Try rolling it on the bench. May have to find something and chamfer that edge. Okay, there we go. This one comes with a new clip, because it springs bad about going through that clip. Alright. Get this on here. Have our gasket on our pump. 30 torques on this side, 105 inch-pounds. Hook and loop on our sealing rings. Okay, 25 torques on this side, 40 inch-pounds. And get this all tightened down, and then I got to change camera angles, and we'll be putting this in the case. Low and reverse housing, a big tab towards the top, feed hole at 6 o'clock. Damn, drop it. Here we go. Okay, tapered snap ring opening at the 6 o'clock. Taper up. Make sure we're all the way in that groove. Our Planet assembly, make sure the bearings on the back. These are going to spline into the sprag down there. Our bearing this side up. Okay, our Planet. Bearing just like that. Sun gear with our bearing. Our ring gear with the washer and the bearing up here. Pressure plate, the 3 tabs at the top, 2 at the bottom.
Shut up, man.
Well, you know good.
Not much, man.
I've been waiting for that part for a week and a half.
Really?
Okay, flat snap ring. Bottom groove. Center support. Make sure the feed holes are pointing at the bottom. got beveled snap ring, taper up. You don't want the snap ring at any of this opening at all. Make sure you're all the way back in the groove. Make sure your washer's on the back. You know you're all the way down when your sensor ring is in the center of the speed sensor hole. So you just look through the side, and if it's in the center, you're all the way down. This bearing, this side up. Pump. $10mm bolts. All right, 21 foot-pounds. Okay, I find it easier to put your seal where the pump, or on the pump, other than the cover. If you buy a new cover, it's probably going to come on the cover. Lube this up really well. For the cover, I use this Permatex gasket maker. I use that on the outside here, and then put a bead for the inner seal on here. And then lube up your O-ring. little bit. Try to stay off of your sealer. Very easy to bend this thing. Put the opening of your snap ring at the 12 o'clock. Short end of the taper of the snap ring here. Alright, let me change camera angles. And then we'll put the tranny up on the bench and do the valve body. Okay, I think I'm getting low on battery. Make sure your your seal is in your pump for your filter. Don't have it on the filter and try to put it in, your filter will fall off. This one they sent the screw to, the bracket to put on the bolt to hold your filter in to keep it from falling out. They don't fall out if you put the seal in here. I've never had one fall out anyway. So make sure your seals are in here on your solenoid assembly. You're going to line your shifter up inside of the notch here. It's best to put this back, not quite all the way, but the next one up. That way you can still get your park gear in, but you can see up inside of here through right here to make sure that you get your linkage. And if it's ratcheting like that, it's in there. 8 millimeters for the valve body. .105 inch-pounds. Okay. Main filter. There's two different filters, two different pans. You can't screw up really because you can't get your pan on if you put the wrong filter on. So, not too much to worry about there. 25 torques on the filter. .40 inch-pounds. On your filter here, there's a diaphragm that's in here. Make sure that diaphragm is not up against these holes. You want a little space between them. Some filters have a plastic insert right here. That insert a lot of times is not tight. Make sure it is tight, because what will happen is when you tighten your filter down, you'll think it's tight, and since this is not tight, it'll loosen up and fall off. I just go hand tight, just like any oil filter. Your filler tube boot. Put a thin bead of silicone around here. Make sure the silicone is out of the bottom of the bolt holes. That way you got enough room when you put your bolts in. If it picks any up, it will not bottom out. If you still have some in there, you go tighten your bolts up, it'll rip the threads right out of it. So let me get the pan on it. Well, actually, let's go ahead and do our lever seal. I'm going to lean this to the side. I don't take, if you want to take your linkage out, there's a Torx bolt on the inside. You can take it out and pull your lever out. I don't do that. I just take it out here. I get me a pocket screwdriver and I get in there and just, you can work to seal out. A lot of times it's almost falling out. It shrinks up and just kind of falls out of there.
Hey Tom, they brought this.
Seal goes in this way. Just lube it up. And just tap it in. There is a flat spot, so you don't have to worry about or a blind spot. You don't have to worry about not getting it lined up properly. It will only go one way. Speed sensors will fit in either spot. So if you got a speed sensor code, you can just swap them out. And if the code changes, you know it's a speed sensor. If it doesn't, you'll know it's either the wiring or the computer. Speed sensor bolts are a little longer than the pan. 8 millimeters. Line pressure solenoid. Very, very rarely are these things bad. 2 O-rings on there. Usually it's the wiring, if you got a code for it. 8 millimeters, the same length as the speed sensor bolts. Alright, no matter what I do, I don't have much room on my bench, so I don't think there's going to be a good view of it. If you have a 4x4, this is going to be your rear sill. two-wheel drive is going to be this seal or this seal. On their pump seal, I forgot to talk about this. There's two different style seals. There's the late style and this is the early style. This will fit either pump. The late one won't fit the early pump, but the early seal will fit either one. So you can use either one. Depending on your output shaft is how you're going to be set up in the back. This is your park gear, slides on. We have a snap ring that goes on the back side here, short end of the taper out towards you. Not going to be able to see that. Pan bolts, 40 inch-pounds. Tail housing bolts, 40 foot-pounds, I'm sorry. These are the bolts for the tail housing. The two studs go normally right over here. Sometimes there's four. There'll be two on each side. What else do we need to talk about? Here's the tail housing. Does have shaft in it. There's really no need to take this shaft out. You can roll this around. You can feel if the bearings are bad. Never seen a bearing bad. So really not much point in taking these out of there. Good grade of silicone here. If you get a pan gasket, you may get a cork one, you may get a paper one. Either one you get, throw it away. Put you a good grade of silicone on here. I use Loctite 598 black. It's kind of like an ultra black. And I think that's it for this transmission. So we'll catch you on the next one.